There he is. Good evening, Peter.
Good morning, Ron, and an early morning it is for you.
Yes, and I've been awake about an hour already, believe it or not. starting with meditation, just like when I used to do my videos. That still happens many mornings.
Right, is my picture coming through okay? It's a little bit dark. I'm not on my usual laptop, so...
Yes, I see a different background than usual. You've got nice drapes behind you.
Yep, I'm in the little corner of the bedroom. I've been relegated to the bedroom as my daughter is having an Xbox dance competition with some friends, so I thought it might be a bit noisy to have that in the background.
Probably right. Anyway, do you, before we actually get started, you commented on my video yesterday. I don't know what you want to talk about today, but I imagine you're as excited as I am about some of the things that we understand to be happening.
Well, I am cautiously so, that's for sure. I mean, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and get rid of this pesky antivirus warning. A lot of things going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of, and a lot of factors involved in what's happening, and that makes it all quite unpredictable. But I feel it's all so close to, I can taste it. And I was really, first thing I did, having my morning coffee, I was watching your video, and I really enjoyed watching it, actually. It had a really beautiful emotion in it, and that passion's there, and I feel that too. I share that as well. It's so close, I can taste it, and it's almost like I don't want to think too much about it because, you know, I don't want to jinx it or whatever. You know, it's so close, though. I think a lot of people are starting to feel that way. A lot of people are feeling like they can touch it, they can feel it, they can see it taking shape in front of them, and it's like a ship that's coming out of a big bank of fog. It's coming into focus bit by bit. You know, you see the contour, and then you start to see the outlines and the masts and the sails, and that's where I feel I am, and I'm still pinching myself, saying, can this change happen so quickly? Are people ready for this change? And deep down, I know they are. You know, I swear I was looking at the trees this morning, and I saw the 100th monkey swinging through the top treetop. Yeah.
Well, do you want to just continue on with where we're going and not do another start? Do you feel that there's anything that we've said so far that should not go out for public consumption?
Nah, it's fine. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
maybe we.
We'll roll with it. We'll roll with it then.
Yeah, we'll just roll with it. Yeah, there's a lot going on. One thing I did want to touch upon was something just to follow up on the video we did last week. And I kind of left something off that I realised might cause some misconceptions with people. And you know, I was talking about not accepting your feelings, and then you know, going into this desire mode to dissipate the inner friction, the inner energy, I realized that people could misconstrue that I would say that desire is a bad thing, and that's just one thing I wanted to touch upon, because that needed to be said. And I was going to say it in the video last week, but I kind of just got sidetracked, and you know, I waffle on. You know, I grew up in the Netherlands, which is next to Belgium, which is where they invented waffles, so sorry, it comes naturally. But yeah, so is desire then a bad thing? If we can't deal with what's happening within ourselves, and we suppress it, and we turn it into a desire, and we seek something to gratify ourselves with, to relieve the inner pressure that we're feeling, you know, going shopping, drinking alcohol, having drugs, you know, all the sort of fantasy stuff. If I only had that, then I would feel good. If I only could make love to that woman, I'd feel great. If I only had the Ferrari, whatever it is. We go into a cycle of desire, because that's how we remember that we deal with this pressure. That's how we get over this pressure that we feel when there's something internally that we can't really deal with. And that leads to a cycle of desire. And I just wanted to pick it up from there because that's the shadow side of desire. And I saw your video this morning and it was so beautifully emotive, and it speaks of a great desire that we share for a better world. And that kind of reminded me, I thought, I was in a lot of pain over the weekend, actually. I sort of dislocated a couple of ribs and wasn't very comfortable at all. And this morning I was thinking, well, maybe I won't do this video tonight because I could possibly be hitting the painkillers after several days of resisting it, And then I watched your video, and sort of what I'd said the week before came back to me, and you were speaking with emotion and desire, and so I thought I'll touch upon that, because what is the other side of desire? What is the constructive? Because nothing's bad, Like your Buddhist monk will tell you that desire is a bad thing. I think I've lost audio.
Oh my goodness. I got audio. No, it's recording here.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So you have your Buddhist monk, and they say, well, desire is a really bad thing. We have to become desireless. And if you look at it from the one perspective, like I was discussing last week, if we use the desire to dissipate the energy of the feelings that we cannot deal with within ourselves, then maybe it is a bad thing. And then our desire leads us into fantasy, which is also the shadow side of imagination. So the opposite, let's take the other path. Let's say a nasty feeling comes up in me. I don't fight it. I accept it. I let it dissipate. I let it point me at whatever the situation is I need to deal with and how to deal with it. Then I can go into desire as well, but then my desire is an opposite thing. It's not a self-serving fantasy desire, but it's a desire that gives rise to imagination. And nothing changes in this world without the faculty of imagination. We imagine, we be, and we do. And that's the difference. And the difference is that we've been exploited in a sense that our imagination has been turned into fantasy by teaching us desire and by teaching us to run away from ourselves. You shouldn't be angry. You shouldn't be this. You shouldn't be that. And that's perverted that whole course of desire. And I think in order to set the course of desire straight and to use emotion and imagination in a constructive and creative way, we need to practice that passive total acceptance of self. Let the so-called negative emotions flower, point us in the right direction, and then apply that desire. So, and you find when you're applying desire in that sense, in the sense of self-acceptance as a positive wave of energy, that you are not thinking about self-gratification. You find yourself thinking quite of the opposite. You find yourself aware of your being a part of the whole, and you find your desire and imagination going out towards the whole in service of the whole. And then desire and imagination become a tool for manifestation. And that is really how we manifest. We don't manifest by fantasy and gratification, but we manifest by desire and imagination, real imagination. And real imagination is something that is in service of the whole. And that whole can be your body. You can just be saying, well, maybe I should go for a walk more often in the morning, or maybe I shouldn't eat those horrible sweet snacks like I do. And
I do.
Yeah. Maybe I should meditate again. Maybe I should go sun gazing, or, whatever it is that you do. It can be a desire to serve the whole of your body as a fractal, as everybody is a CVACs and a fractal. Or it can be the desire to be a better father or husband, or, to, instead of being an autocratic, dictating dad, being a listening, teaching, friend dad, or the same in any relationship, whether it's a relationship to yourself, to your community, to your family, to your country, to the world. It's the desire and the imagination that is in service to the whole, because by totally accepting yourself, you are actually getting an overview of yourself, an understanding of yourself, and you see the whole reflected in yourself, and you find your unique key code, your pin code to slot into the wholeness of things as an individual. But it's not until you become 100% your own individual that you 100% slot into your place in the world and in the universe. That connectedness is there. And that's then where your desire and your imagination really starts to become a very, very potent force, and a force for manifestation. And that's what real manifestation is about. It doesn't come from lack, want, and need. It comes from service to the whole at whatever fractal compression or decompression level that may be. So for all those people who watched it last week and thought, well, desire is not a good thing. No, that's not what I meant. I just didn't get around to putting this part in, so I'm glad I can do that today. Sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
Did you happen to catch Aristo's commentaries on your video?
Yeah, I did actually catch some of that, and Aristo expresses a lot of the same things as myself, actually, but he does it in quite a different way. So, and that's really interesting, because that makes me think about my metaphors and my language, and neutrality or balanced stance. I did practice a little bit of martial arts when I was a kid, and so, those sort of things make me really think and focus, and a lot of things are about the energy, and you do get to that place then where you're working with energy. And in actual fact, today I was very much becoming aware of my painful ribs actually being energy, and I started doing a little bit of breathing, more or less spontaneous, sort of doing my own backyard cowboy qigong type stuff. And lo and behold, within the hour, I was pretty much almost pain-free, and it's 99% gone after a weekend of agony. I should have, and I just saw it as pain. I just saw it as something physical, as something solid that had shifted, dislocated rib. And today I started seeing it as energy, and I started working with my energy in my body, and I could really feel it start to circulate after a little while, and it's just amazing how potent some of those techniques can be. And it's just amazing. I just said, well, yeah, it might all seem solid and physical, but it is energy after all. And then I started working with my breathing and energy, and just working with the earth and the sun, and it was just amazing how quickly the pain levels just went down and down and down and down and down. And that's it. We do get to a point where we start working with energy in whichever way, shape, or form that is. A lot of people think of working with energy as something clairvoyant or mystical or magical. Or telepathic or whatever it is. And I think working with energy is really just about, being in alignment with yourself, being in alignment with the universe. And everybody expresses that in a different way. And I get so many people saying, oh, well, if you're now an energy master, you certainly have the faculty of telepathy. And I'll say, oh, yeah, I have the faculty of telepathy. And I say, nah, you're kidding. I'll tell me what I'm thinking. I said, I don't want to know what you're thinking. But we all practice telepathy, and this is the thing. A lot of people think that telepathy is some sort of a skill that you acquire when you get some form of mastery or whatever it is. But without telepathy, there is no thought, because there is just this field that we're all in, which is filled with all sorts of energies and thought waves. And basically the whole universe is built up to a degree of thought waves, thought patterns. And our thinking is really, we tend to think that if this is my thought, this is what I am thinking, but it's not. You're individualizing a stream of thought that you're tuning into. So in that sense, we're all telepathic, because if you begin to realize that thoughts are like clouds floating by in your blue sky, and that you just focus on them, and therefore you interpret the cloud. You say, oh, that one looks like an elephant, or that one looks like a horse. And that's basically our thought process. Our thought process isn't necessarily 100% local to our brains. Our brains are the antennae, and DNA are the antennas that we interpret thought with. But thought is a wave, and it goes round, and you can always see that in new inventions and things like that. Book printing was invented around the same time in 3 different places in the world, and banking, lo and behold, Italy, Holland, and England pretty much at the same time. We're all reacting to waves, so we're all telepathic, but it's just that most of us just tune into crap stations, basically, and we dig up the dirt, and we call that our thoughts. And what people call telepathy is basically just tuning into, using the same faculty, but in a refined sense, to tune into higher frequencies. And so, to me, our innate abilities are all already there. It's just refining what is there and being able to be free enough within oneself to start responding to subtle shifts of energy within oneself and without oneself, of course, because the within is just a mirror of the without, and of course it's like the infinity symbol. It's a feedback loop. What we call physical reality is a feedback loop of perception. And
I was having a conversation with a few people last evening about oneness, and we were each asked to give our description of what we see oneness as, and one person said oneness is about getting in touch with what's inside, and I commented back. I said, no, oneness is about not making a differentiation between what's inside and what's outside, and recognizing that they're both one. They're both parts of the same thing. And that's true of all polarities and all dualities. They're just 2 sides of the same coin. If you eliminate one, you don't have the coin anymore.
That's exactly right. And again, it always comes back down to where we get so often in these conversations. It's all in, I want it all D, I don't just want 5D, I want all D. I want it all to happen. I want this world to become a better world. And, certainly there are some very, very exciting opportunities coming up there as well. And, the 100th Maki is really, really kicking in. And I keep saying that. I know I have in the last few videos that we've done, and I pretty much am a broken record if you speak to me in daily life, because you'll hear me speaking of nothing but this pretty much. But there is a real wave and going on, and it's like I said before, we're all telepathic. We're all picking up on these waves that we, with our imagination or our desire, our imagination or our fantasy, we shape these waves into one shape or another. And we're all tuning into these waves. And the old waves are the old forms that were built up are starting to fall apart and disintegrate because they're really not getting that attention anymore. And the new concepts like CVACs, self-governance, universal law, natural law, common law, all these sort of things are starting to get the attention and the energy. And I find it really interesting to see what's happening in all these groups in the background. Like, I don't know if you've seen any of Fulford's videos, or if you follow Puffness or Zap's blogs, and they're all talking about, they talk about the white dragons in China. They talk about the crown families. They talk about all these different factions that are working in the background, owning wealth. And Fulford was pretty much saying that, and this is what all those other type bloggers that are in the background of the system are saying, that they're all looking to make some sort of a big change and offer humanity some sort of a new system. And I've heard various variations coming out of various camps, and they're all pretty much similar. They're all realizing, all these factions are realizing. And then, of course, you have Heather and the OPPT faction that are very much 5D and are going for the total freedom thing. And then you've got pretty much the non-extreme cabal that are getting closer to the center, who's saying, well, if we redistribute wealth a little bit, and what they're trying to do is they're really just saying, well, how do I explain it? It's like battery hens. You got those chickens in these horrible little things inside these big sheds, producing eggs. And we like those battery hens. We're in those tiny little cages, and we're kept very unhealthy and malnourished and in the filth and in the dark. And what these sort of cabal factions are really trying to offer to people is saying, well, we know we can't hold them in those cages anymore, so why don't we throw them a bone and open the cage doors and just let them slowly emerge out, and they can move into the yard and they can be free-range chickens. And then coming out of their little cages of fear and conditioning and all that sort of stuff that they've used against us, coming out of their little cages, they'll wander out into this big open yard, into the sunshine, very slowly, bit by bit, getting used to the light, and they'll say, wow, we're free. So we're seeing now that every faction in the world is understanding that, it's game over. The old game's over, and we better offer them something because, otherwise we won't have any control at all. And that's pretty much what I got out of the Fulford and the Zap. And then we're talking about RVs and resets, and all this stuff is going on. And everybody is kind of making an offer for the chickens to come out of the little boxes into the yard. And so I'm beginning to see now, really, and I've been thinking about this, and every time I think about this, an image comes into my mind, and it's dusk or dawn, and there is a crossroads, and there's all these different factions are walking down these crossroads, thinking that they're implementing their plan, and this is how it's going to be. And this is where we're going. And all the other factions are going, no, this is our plan. This is where we're going. And the other faction is our plan. This is where we're going. But I see them all coming out of the fog, moving into the center of this crossroads, ending up standing there together going, we're all here. What happened?
Same thing.
What do we do now? Yeah. Because coming from light or dark or whatever it is that you want to call it, we all know the game's up, and we all know that something needs to be done. And so there are major things going to happen, whether what you or I envisage is going to happen happens or not. But humanity won't stay as the battery hen in the cages. It wants to at least move out into the sunshine in the yard, and all I'm hoping and working for is that once we get to that yard, we actually realize that we're birds, and we just flap our wings and we fly away out of the yard as well, out into the open nature. And that's very much what I'm beginning to see at the moment, is that all these factions really are being controlled by the largest energy that there is, and that energy is Source itself, or God, or whatever you want to call it. Centralized, decentralized, God, Judge, Jehovah, Source, whatever. Or just energy, or quanta.
By the way, Peter, did you get an opportunity? I know you watched my video. Did you get an opportunity to watch the video about Egypt CVACs?
Yeah, I did watch that actually, and I'm very hopeful that there are a few countries that are on the brink at the moment, and I think that there is a possibility that this whole CVACs thing may break through in a few of those countries. Egypt's very well known at the moment because obviously there's spectacular large demonstrations and things going on there. It's very much in the news. Middle East is always sort of pretty much in the hotbed of the news, but so many things happening everywhere. Hungary is just, or is it Bulgaria? No, Hungary. Bulgaria? Hungary, yeah.
Hungary.
Well,
told the backers to take a hike.
Yeah, go take a hike. So God knows what once they get that sense of freedom and increase in sovereignty, what the thinking is going to be like there. Indonesia is also a place at the moment that is an absolute hotbed, and the military there are starting to look very, very restless. And what I'm looking for is any of those countries to start exhibiting slightly different signs other than just a dissatisfaction, which usually leads to, political change or revolution. And I think that's going to start coming through out of the collective consciousness of humanity, because basically what Source has decreed and where Source is leading us is that we're all in this maze, and we're all, going through these zigzags and trying to find the center of the maze. And all these parties, like I said, with the crossroads analogy, are going to find themselves at the center. And that's Source's joke upon us at the moment. So this line of thinking, this self-governance, this freedom is going to break through somewhere. And it's going to break through in the face of very, very difficult and arduous circumstances, which a lot of countries are in at the moment. I'm really got my fingers crossed that this thing could take off in Egypt. And if you look at it even from a political standpoint, as you've got the military who put Morsi in there, who were supporting Mubarak, first of all, which was a total mess. Then they put Morsi in, was still let's face it, still a Western American stooge, even though they call themselves the Muslim Brotherhood. And they had to remove him as well. And so nothing that they've done, none of their interventions have given them any satisfaction, nor have they managed to heal the rift that is in the Egyptian population. So they're very much fruit ripe for the picking as far as CVACs is concerned, because if they roll out self-governance, that's where every man governs himself. And if they manage to use the existing resources of the country, i.e. public service, etc., to repurpose that, and military and police to retrain as peace officers, and actually spread the wealth of their country evenly amongst their I hate the word citizens because it deals with corporate
system. It has a bad connotation.
Yeah, their people. Spread the wealth amongst their people and get people involved in self-governance, then they would once and for all get rid of all that civil unrest and these needs for leadership changes constantly. And so they're in a very, very difficult situation where I think they've got 90 million or something like that in people in Egypt. And, they're broken up into some very serious factions that could erupt into a massive civil war at any time, let alone foreign intervention and foreign agendas being played out there, making things more complicated. This could, for them, in one fell swoop, set that whole situation straight and turn one of the most disadvantaged and most oppressed countries, because they're a very oppressed country. You've got the Suez Canal in there, which all the Western oil and everything like that is dependent on. You got one of the major gas pipelines going through Egypt, one of the world's major gas pipelines. So they've always been totally oppressed. And wouldn't it be nice for that country to get up on its feet, sort itself out, and get a wealthy, healthy, and happy population up and going, and hold that up to the rest of the world as a shining light.
Egypt, of course, is one of the cradles of civilization. But the reason I ask you about that particular video is because several people, or a few people, I should say, not several, a few people have indicated that Mr. Sino is not a real person, and that the Swiss Indo is a fraud and stuff like that. And I mean, I've read all that stuff. You probably have too. But yep. I think I talked to somebody at one point in time, I can't remember exactly when it was, who actually had conversations with Mr. Sino, that he is a real human being, not some channeled entity or something like that. Do you have any comment on that? It's from your perspective?
Well, I haven't met the man, and honestly, I wouldn't mind flying to Indonesia to meet him, actually. It would be quite interesting. But I do sometimes investigate it energetically, and that's probably too fancy a way to say it, but meditate on it. Let my heart feelers go out, and some of the things that Heather said in the beginning when Swiss Indo came on the scene was very interesting. That that Mr. Sino's intent was pure, but that some of the embodiments around Mr. Sino needed a bit of cleaning up. And I think that Mr. Sino is probably clever enough to clean up some of the embodiments around him, and has put the right mechanisms and the right kind of people in place now to do what he wants to do. And I know there are absolute fortunes out there. You have the whole Ascended Masters Club, who have the Saint Germain funds, which are ungodly amounts of money. You have Swiss Indo, which is, as I understand it from my research, based upon the wealth of goes back as far as ancient King Solomon's gold, which is legendary. And so there's an accumulation of wealth from ancient royal golds, King Solomon's gold, gold that was accumulated in the spice trade, which Indonesia was quite a big part of. And apparently the Chinese went crazy for some of Indonesia's spices and spent untold amounts of gold. And then in the modern era, some of that has been turned into investments, etc., etc. So there's actually quite a bit of wealth which is outside of the fiat fake system that the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, etc., have held up to us. There's a lot of wealth that's outside that system. And whether you're talking about White Dragons, or whether you're talking about Mr. Sino, or some of these Saint Germain funds, some of these other funds, they're all about trying to bring this wealth back into the hands of the people to a degree and to an extent. And like I said, I have to look at all these groups, and I see Swiss Indo again. It's like it's starting to come out of obscurity a little bit. I'm seeing it around the place, and I'm seeing it emerging. And hopefully it can actually really swing into focus. And like the analogy of the ship coming out of the fog that I was talking about earlier, can actually start to take shape and start to get definition. But at the same time, I know, doesn't matter what camp it comes out of, that there is a huge shift going to happen, and that the current debt slavery system is not going to be tolerated by the people anymore, and that even the perpetrators of that system have to come back with some sort of a trying to make amends. So whichever way it's going to go, we are heading towards a new era. Maybe the first step to the new era will be, and dare I say the words, a form of new world order. And there's bound to be an order to things when we sort things out. So new world order, you can take that whatever way you like. I'm not afraid of the words anymore, because we've been trained to be so afraid of so many things. We've been trained to be afraid of the little pyramid with the eye in it, and because that's all theirs and that's their energy, and they're using that against us. Well, I got news for you. As far as I'm concerned, there's no them and us. There is just us, and it's my energy just as much as the next guy. So I look at the pyramid with the eye on a dollar bill. I say that's my eye. I claim that back. So there is no us and them, and we're all changing. There's an enormous shift happening, and don't panic. There's a shift happening. It's all good. Work from your imagination. Be and do from your imagination. Desire that which is good for yourself and for your neighbor and for your country and for the world, and just follow the passion that flows out of that. Because the moment that you create, the moment that you use your telepathy to tune into some of the higher waves to help create the new, to help with imagination shape the new realities and the new thought forms, and with your sweat and tears and with your flesh and bone also work to make all of that real. As long as you start to engage in that whole process of becoming one within yourself, whole within yourself, and engaging with what's going on and what's coming out of the universe. As long as you're doing that, You don't have to know how it's going to go. I don't pretend that I know how it's going to go, and I'll say categorically that I do know that nobody knows how it's going to go. Because again, when all the parties arrive at the center of the crossroads, they're all going to stand there with their jaws dropping to the floor going, huh? And that's it. You don't know how it's going to go. Just, take it turn by turn. Just do what comes inside. Feel what is real within yourself. Do what comes inside. Go with the flow, and let's just keep building up this telepathy and this new form that's precipitating down out of the cosmos into our awareness. Work with it. Play with it. Imagine, be, do, love. It's not that hard, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Follow your passion.
Yeah, I could think of a whole bunch more things to talk to you about, but I think our time for this conversation has reached its conclusion. So once again, I'm going to thank you for taking the time to share with me and the audience that listens to us. I really do appreciate our conversations and Aristo's also, and who knows.
Yeah, absolutely.
We each
I
have
love
our
Aristo.
perspective and our contribution to make.
I'm learning a lot from Aristo too, and the comments I got on the last video on Facebook were actually really, really humbling and so positive, and that's just fantastic that we could be a part of that larger dialogue that's going on in the world. And I just want to thank you for that, and thank everybody for watching again, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you.
Namaste,
Peter.
Rob.
Namaste.
Thank you.